What's going on, everyone? I'm just your typical, average, everyday Canadian nerd who's not actually typical or average, here to react to your typical, average, everyday American man, Tyler Bucket. And he is here to react to Top 10 Reasons to Move to Canada. I believe I've fixed my sound issues, and if you agree, please let me know. Oh, it's been a hard journey, and thank you for your patience here. And to celebrate, we're gonna do this. We're doing this. So without any ado, let's get rid of this picture and dive right into the play.
What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about the top 10 reasons to move to Canada. Reasons to move to Canada.
Recorded 9 months ago, he still hasn't moved to Canada.
I've been learning quite a bit about Canada recently, and there's a lot of reasons to move to Canada from what I've seen, like, truthfully. Not just because of all the maple syrup, the endless maple syrup.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
The nice people. The wonderful places to visit. Actually, those are all pretty good reasons to move to Canada, now that I think of it.
Yeah.
But I'm more interested in what this list thinks are the top reasons to move to Canada. Because there's a lot of reasons. But
top 10 lists,
what
right?
Maybe some of the most interesting or not obvious, or maybe everything on this list will just be the different maple syrup flavored stuff. Maybe that's just 10 reasons to move to Canada, all on its own. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm gonna guess a few. So we've got the maple syrup, we've got Tim Hortons, we've got the natural beauty, a colorful money, the health care. Well, let's see if those 5 hit the list.
But anyway, I'm ready to find out. So, let's find out.
Number 10, multiculturalism.
That's a good one.
Multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's actually hard to say.
You know, my sister's kids are enrolled in a German dance class, and there's a whole lot of more multicultural programs available that I'm just not thinking of at this moment in time, but they're also involved in like First Nations communities. It's great to see all these different communities, and we all work together.
It's a good reason. As an American, that's something we actually have quite a fair bit of in America. So, honestly, this is probably one of the things I could relate to the most on this list. So that's a good reason to live in America.
True. And in my opinion, it's the difference between a melting pot and a 7-layer dip.
Good reason to live in Canada. A lot of diversity, lots of cultures going on, lots to learn and appreciate. So yeah, I get it.
He adopted a policy of multiculturalism as opposed to the melting pot of your American model.
Visit any major city in Canada, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and you'll feel like you're taking a tour of more than just one country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of a better way of putting it, actually. You can go to all these major cities and places and feel like, oh, you're getting an experience of the culture of many different cultures in the city.
Yeah.
Like, instead of just necessarily like, oh, this is Canada. It's like, yeah, it's Canada, but it's also a lot of other things.
Neighborhoods like Chinatown and Little Italy, and even a Koreatown in Toronto, can be found in those major cities and provide an immersive cultural experience for tourists and natives alike.
And even in the smaller towns, there's like a restaurant that has a store next to it, and they fill that niche of a small slice of home away.
But every nationality and background imaginable is spread out throughout the cities too. Nothing's absolute.
Right?
But when it comes down to it, most Canadians aren't afraid of diversity.
In Canada, people don't care where you're from. As long as you're friendly and maybe loan them a smoke or hand over a donut.
Yeah.
In fact,
It's true.
That was supposed to be funny, but
although I've never had anyone approach me on the street and ask, "Hey, can you spare a donut?"
But it's like, hey, I agree with that. As long as you're friendly, it's all good.
But in the office place, it is absolutely a standard that you share a donut. Or offer a donut. Yes, and it is not appropriate to be saying, here, do you want to smoke?
Like, yeah, we're all people.
In 2015 and 2016, Canada, under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, welcomed 25,000 Syrian refugees into the country. Speaking of the PM, Trudeau's cabinet proved to be the most diverse ever seen in Canadian politics, having an equal number of men and women, some minorities, and even former refugees.
Everyone has different opinions on that. It was a great look. We can all agree on that. It was a great look.
Why was that so important to you?
Cool.
Because it's 2015.
Number 9. Abundant natural resources.
Abundant natural resources. Are we talking about, like, the economic strength of Canada here? Like, I want to join Canada and move there so that I can be part of, like, this flourishing nation with all these natural resources? Or are we talking about, like, because it has beautiful nature that you can appreciate? Lakes and stuff.
Did you know that without its freshwater lakes, Canada would actually be smaller than the United States? Or that Canada holds 7% of...
So that's saying there are a lot of lakes, to say the least.
They take up a lot of land mass.
World's renewable water supply. The third states,
hold on.
Or that Canada holds
7% of the world's renewable water supply.
Wow.
The third highest next to Brazil and Russia.
Wow.
That's because the country is known for its beautiful scenery, with too many lakes, streams, rivers, and wetlands to count. Not to mention the fact that the Northern Territories are mostly snow and ice. In addition,
I mean, it's a very surface level way to analyze things, but it's important, actually. Like, that Canada is beautiful is, like, that's a good reason to want to live there. It's above the surface level of, like, oh, that's pretty. It's like, it increases your overall, you know, honestly, your health, your mental attitude, your, like, mental health, seeing, like, that you're living in a beautiful place.
Yes, my neighborhood is actually starting a project where we're going to go door to door saying, do you want us to plant a tree in your yard? Because as we've been walking through the neighborhood, we've noticed there's a lack of trees. I mean, we have a lot of trees, don't get me wrong, but there's certain spots where, like, this place needs some trees. Because we're just very used to the nature being everywhere as long as we're not in a big, densely populated area.
With hopefully, you know, lots of beautiful people and all that.
Oh, thank you.
in addition, Canada has no shortage of gold.
Beautiful, I just thought about what I just said. Beautiful people as in beautiful, like, culturally. On the inside. Not that the people have to be supermodels, although if Canada is filled with... If Canada is filled with a bunch of supermodels, every single person in Canada is just beautiful. Like, that's good too. You know, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
Diamonds, lead, and crude oil.
Oh, that reminds me. Somebody in the comments suggested that I lower the bass in my voice. So I have lowered the bass. And let's continue.
Which means other countries look to Canada for exports of natural resources.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. Like, we're also talking about natural resources like oil, lead, things like that.
Gold, salt, silver, nickel, yes.
That actually is more for the economy, like financial strength.
Oh, the wood. So much wood. I grew up on a street called Deerwood because we had deer and we had...
Thus helping Canada's economy to thrive.
Yeah.
Number 8. It's not yet overpopulated.
Oh, really? Well,
very true. There's so much space.
when was this made? When was this video made? Oh my goodness. 6 years ago.
And it really hasn't changed that much. I mean, like, I think the entire population of Canada is equivalent or less than the entire population of California.
Is Canada overpopulated?
No.
It's 2022 at the time of this video. So 6 years have gone by. I wonder if Canada is still not too overpopulated.
All right, I think that's it for lowering the bass, but I'm still going to speak with a lower tone. Hopefully this is okay.
Like just right, where you can go to the grocery store and you're not like packed against the wall, like stuffed like sardines or something.
Very accurate.
Citizens asked to name places in Canada will come up with well-known cities like Toronto and Montreal, but often know next to nothing about the rest of the country.
That's absolutely true, by the way. Americans, they're aware of Montreal, Quebec, Toronto.
To be fair, though, the average Ontarian doesn't know anything about Moosomin. We're a big country, lots of space, so much space that it's mostly space.
But, like, nothing else. Sorry.
What might make this difficult is that out of the 36 million or so people residing in the country, only about
36 million people. That's almost like 1/10 of the American population. So yeah, it's like
right?
10% of the people in America. Like, that's very interesting.
2.5 million make up the 36 million or so people residing in the country. Only about 2.5 million make up the population of Nunavut, the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick.
Wow.
Combined.
For perspective, there are 13 million people living just in the province of Ontario.
Right.
The cities may be crowded.
So the cities, yeah, exactly. The cities are very population dense, but if you move to some sort of town or place in Canada that's not right smack in the middle of a city, you're probably going to have like a very comfortable kind of hometown feeling where the population is very tame. Everyone's kind of familiar with everyone there probably. It's probably very comforting, very homey. I like that.
Yeah, I like to see most places in Ontario as a small town. They just vary in size.
But when you think of Canada as a whole, there's still plenty of unused space, especially in the lesser populated areas further north.
Nunavut is authentic Arctic. It's got a culture that is still thriving.
Number 7.
Cool.
Hockey.
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 Hockey, hockey, hockey. Americans,
All right.
you know, enjoy hockey. There's a professional hockey league in America. It's just nowhere even close to what Americans' like obsession with American football and basketball. But
A Canadian game.
hockey's like super cool. Like, I love that Canada is obsessed with hockey. Because it's like, from an American's point of view, that's unique. That's a sport we don't really give enough attention to.
And that's mostly because of the hockey rinks that are just everywhere in communities. So when it's cold and it's icy and someone took care to flatten out their pond, you play a game of shinny.
As long as there's ice to skate on,
Right?
we're at home.
Here's
There
one
you go.
stereotype that isn't so exaggerated after all. Canadians love their hockey.
You got your can of do's, and you got your can of don'ts.
Top shelf right there, number one.
This is something Americans really do associate with Canada. Hockey,
Harley, right?
and it sounds like it's kind of the truth.
Go telling a Canadian you don't follow hockey.
Contrary to the stereotype, not everyone actually plays the sport.
Okay.
But when there's a game on TV, you know what many Canadians will be doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly like American football, basketball, exact same way.
But not everyone knows about hockey. Example, last week the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup. I found this out and I messaged my friend, are the Golden Knights from BC? And I was thinking, because there's a town in BC called Golden, but it's a small town. They shouldn't have a whole hockey team. And he said, no, they're from Vegas.
From the Vancouver Canucks to the Montreal Canadiens, some follow the NHL almost religiously.
Can we watch hockey?
Well, the game's over, sweetheart. Canadiens won, by the way, so you owe me $10.
Canada may be known as a nice and quiet country, but nothing can prepare you to see them after a hockey game is aired. When a Canadian team loses, riots. When a Canadian...
Oh man, the only time an American is gonna see news coverage or something of an aggressive, angry Canadian, which I've never seen ever, is after losing a big hockey match. Okay.
Yes, and I think once or twice in my history it was after winning a big hockey match.
Good to know. Steer clear of the Canadian hockey fans if they just lost a big match. Okay, good tip.
Team wins, more riots. Needless to say, Canadians take their hockey very seriously.
Yeah.
Number 6, Canada's reputation.
Oh.
Interesting one. Canada's reputation.
And on screen we have Paul Bunyan on one side, and on the other, just a northern fur trader.
I mean, from America, Canada's reputation is very good. Very good reputation, just of being very kind, loving people that like really neat stuff. Our thought process doesn't really go much further than that, to be honest.
I don't live in an igloo or eat blubber or own a dog sled.
No.
And I don't know Jimmy, Sally, or Susie from Canada, although I'm certain they're really
I
nice.
am Canadian.
Movies and TV shows have a habit of misrepresenting, or at least grossly exaggerating
Afraid of the
Canadian
dark.
stereotypes.
That, I believe, is absolutely 100% true in America.
You bumped into him, and he apologized and gave you a donut on the hose?
Oh, it's just like home.
And while it's unlikely that you'll see Canadians actually slather maple syrup on everything,
Where do you pour the syrup?
or end every sentence with A, they're hardly going to hold a grudge over these stereotypes.
A.
I'm from Canada. They say I'm slow, eh?
That's another thing that Americans think Canadians say a lot. A. But apparently not as much as we think.
Because, that's their deal.
I moved here from Canada, and they think I'm slow, eh?
In fact, Canadians typically find rumors that they live in igloos or ride polar bears very amusing.
I hope so. I really do hope so. I would think, I'd love to hear what Canadians think Americans are up to and doing. What kind of crazy stuff.
I don't think you do. It involves a lot of fast food and sitting.
Even American stereotypes, I would find that stuff so funny. That would be so funny to me. So I'm glad, I hope Canadians really do look at that with a sense of humor.
Since most have never seen a wild polar bear in their life. And probably never will.
Freaking polar bears.
The cuddliest of all bears.
Polar bears? You didn't hear about the polar bear?
Number 5, low violence and crime rates.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great reason.
Lately, if you've been paying attention to mainstream news media, you might be under the impression that the violence and crime rates are increasing. I don't know if that's true.
The move to Canada. Maybe one of the best on this list so far. If you're going to pick a place to live, certainly low crime and rates of violence is a fantastic reason, and it also just reflects so well on the Canadian culture.
In my adulthood, I have very infrequently been a victim of violence or crime, and any of it that was put on me was from a girlfriend.
You know? You don't get those low violence statistics unless as a people, as a nation, it's the truth. It reflects the truth in the behavior of that nation.
I love to leave my door unlocked when I leave the house. But this ain't Canada.
No one's naive enough to believe that Canada, however friendly, is without violence and crime.
Sure.
There are all too often incidents of theft, homicide, and abductions across the country. But Canada looks like Disneyland compared to crime rates in other countries.
Yeah, I was gonna say, depending on where you live in America.
And how much you know about Disneyland.
You can find some pretty staggering rates of crime and violence. But then, of course, there's parts of America that are wonderful with incredibly low crime rates. Just super peaceful places to live, you know, like anywhere in the world you can find both, right?
You guys
That's
are
right.
the world's leader in handgun violence, your healthcare system is bankrupt, and your country is deeply divided on almost every important issue.
Yeah.
Your cops are called Mounties.
For instance, in 2010, there were 554 cases of murder in Canada, compared to a whopping 12,000 or so in the US.
Yeah. Wow. 500?
Doing the math on that, that's just over 1 a day, almost 2 a day at some days. But in the United States, that's more than 4 a day. That's crazy.
4 cases.
Yeah, and if you multiply that by 10, that'd only be 10,000.
Cases of murder in Canada, compared.
And so America has 12,000, so it's over, if I'm doing the math somewhat correctly, it's over, like, what the population difference would predict. So America is a little more, like, violent on average, it would seem.
Right, so doing math on the fly, if you're not a mathematician, is not going to be accurate. So the numbers I stated are not accurate. They are just guesses based on rough numbers, like that one.
To a whopping 12,000 or so in the US. Around 25,000 in Mexico.
Wow.
And at the top of the list, Brazil, with approximately 40,000.
Okay, maybe America isn't so bad.
Canada may not be perfect when it comes to violent crime, but what country is? There may be some bad eggs living among them, but for the most part, Canada has no room for hate in its heart.
I forgot you guys don't have that in Canada.
Number 4, balanced politics.
Really? That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
Or I guess we're saying balanced politics, not that everyone in Canada necessarily is in total agreement on the politics.
Not at all.
There's like a much healthier balance, and everyone is kind of closer together on average in the political spectrum. In America, that could not be farther from the truth.
Yeah, politics are not dividing our families, that's for sure.
America is, especially now, modern America, is maybe the most politically divided it has ever been by far. And politics and couldn't be more split. Oh my goodness, don't get me started.
Yeah, when we have political discussions among friends, colleagues, acquaintances, family members, it's more of a discussion. Like, I put forward these opinions, and this is the reasoning why. I agree with these opinions and these reasonings, but I also have other opinions and reasonings. Let me present them. It's kind of like that.
We here in Canada know that America is currently experiencing political discourse.
Yeah.
And because of Canada's clean air, friendly nature, good food, and super hot non-bananas prime minister, many Americans have expressed interest in moving here.
So this got me thinking back to the recent sessions in the House of Commons, where it seems like there's a pretty big divide between the Conservative Party, who happens to be asking real questions, and the Liberal Party, who are making up stories. Anyway, I think we're going to have an election soon, and we're going to go from red to blue, which, oh, it's complicated. It's like Americans going from blue to red. It's weird.
Americans often threaten to move to Canada when politics at home aren't going their way.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. It's kind of meant as a joke, but kind of not a joke.
Yeah, mostly a joke.
I think a lot of Americans are like, screw this place. When things get heated or it's like election time, they're like, screw this, I'm going to Canada. I don't blame them.
Because they
we hear it a lot.
Canadians have it better than they do.
Yeah.
They don't know the half of it. For starters, living in Canada could add years to your life, since the life expectancy is among the highest in the world.
That's a good metric to measure like overall national happiness and like contentment is life expectancy. Yeah.
Being somewhere in the top 10 to 15 at approximately 81 years old.
Although America's not totally horrible there. 78. Canada's like 3 years better on average. Yeah, that's significant.
Depending on the source.
Universal health care.
Rocky Mountain, fresh Atlantic, warm Pacific, and cool Arctic airs might be contributing factors.
Yeah.
Need to take time off after having a baby? No problem. In Canada, you can take almost a year off.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Both men and women have that right.
What? Yeah, I mean, in America, you can get like 2 months off, 2-ish. If you're a female, if you're a man in America, you're going to be hard pressed to get much maternity leave at all.
Yes, we have paternity and maternity leave, and they're pretty great for the people who need them, which is parents. It's great for parents.
Benny, you can take like a year? That's incredible. And honestly, the way it should be, right? I mean, you're taking care of a baby, a child.
Right.
They need your undivided attention. It's a full-time
Exactly.
job. It makes so much sense.
It does.
So if there are 2 parents involved, this time would have to be shared, though.
Right, but still, that makes sense. But it's still so much better than America, still.
You'd still be paid over 50% of your salary.
Okay.
Also, Canada is a secular country, giving citizens the freedom to follow their own beliefs and lifestyle choices. Case in point, gay marriage has been legal since 2005, a full decade before the United States.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty amazing.
Same-sex partners can marry legally. Love comes in many forms.
Why are they kissing between a fence? Is one of them American and the other? Shouldn't they move? What am I watching? I don't remember this Heritage Minute.
Against hatred and discrimination.
Number 3, education.
Because no other place offers...
Oh, education. America takes a lot of pride in its education, especially higher education. I have many criticisms, many criticisms of the, what we would call K through 12, kindergarten through 12th grade, up until you're 18 years old. That education, public education, is highly questionable.
Canadian public education has been on the downhill slide for a while now, but it's not as far downhill as the American public education system.
It does the job, I guess. But America takes a lot of pride in its universities and colleges. So I wonder what Canada kind of thinks of its education, all of its kinds of education.
Oh, we have some excellent colleges and universities, absolutely.
For such a world of possibilities.
As of 2014, Canada was the 7th most popular destination for international students.
Cool.
Why? Because young people from all over the world travel to Canada specifically to study there.
Diversity is more than just diversity in culture and color. It's more about diversity in interest in Canada. You can literally be anyone in Canada.
McGill University, located in the city of Montreal, is not only one of the top universities in the country, it's also typically ranked within the top 30 universities in the world.
Wow.
Sweetie.
Yeah, America has, Harvard and, stuff like that. All these, what we would call just amazing top tier universities. So we certainly put a lot of pride in that stuff. But it sounds like there's some amazing universities in Canada.
So I'm not in the schools, but I know that U of Ottawa, U of Toronto, U of Victoria, the Ryerson and McGill, absolutely great names.
I think it said the University of Toronto there earlier.
You could still go to McGill, the Harvard of Canada.
Oh, McGill, Harvard of Canada. Honestly, I was not aware of that, to be honest.
Otherwise, institutions like the University of Toronto and of British Columbia are also praised for their excellence.
My apologies. UVic is not what I thought it was. Hey, I don't live in BC. If you know the proper response to the University of Victoria, University of BC question in my head, let me know.
International students mostly spend just as much on tuition as where they came from. But for Canadian citizens, tuition costs are insanely low.
Yeah, that's another thing. Oh my gosh, this is just like reminding me of all the things that are so crazy in America that a lot of Americans agree are not good, especially when you compare them to Canada. The tuition in America for its top universities is insane. Insane. 50 grand a semester, I'm sure, for some places. Just crazy.
Ooh. Number 2, it's peaceful.
Went okay. Guy was from Canada, said it was probably
peaceful. I wonder how this list defines peaceful, because we already went over the low crime rates and stuff, but peaceful.
His fault for getting robbed and apologize for wasting my time.
Oh, Canada.
Canadians are pretty laid back on the whole, so they'd much rather do their own thing than pick fights with other countries.
It's the population density, in my opinion. It's the fact that we have so much space per person for the whole country. It's just like, yeah, leave me alone. I'm at peace.
Okay, so we really are talking about foreign conflict and stuff like that, okay?
What's there to fight about anyhow? Canadians are generally a happy lot. And you'd be hard-pressed to find a country with a major beef against the nation.
Hey, I thought you didn't like...
That's true. I can't think of anybody in the world. Not that I'm on the cutting edge of this stuff and aware, but I can't even think of anyone on the planet that has a problem with Canada. Anyone. That says something.
I want to say China, but I don't think China actually has a problem with us because of how we're towing the line.
That says something.
Canada.
Are you kidding? I love Canada.
Don't get us wrong. The Canadian military is certainly considered world-class. But Canadians grow up in a country where people of different colors, cultures, religions, and sexualities make up much of the population.
More people living in Canada will have family and other close connections in other countries, leading to more international exchanges and relationships.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's another part of the multiculturalism.
That's right.
Diversity. Is that you're getting all these different cultures in Canada. People are, you know, building families there. So Canada's kind of connected to the world in that sense. It's honestly fantastic.
If they have to fight, they will. But peace, kindness, and acceptance are, for the most part, ingrained in them from birth. And Canada tends to focus their energy more on peacekeeping missions than all-out war.
You know, when you go over there, just be nice. They're Canadians.
You're referring to the broad generalization that Canadians are polite?
Yes, I am.
Before we unveil our number one pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Uh-oh, ketchup chips. What's wrong?
Ketchup chips. I think I've heard of this
3 times now.
Why? You know, my respect for Canada was going so high.
Tyler, you just need to try them, and then you'll understand why.
During this video, just up, 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 up. I was ready to move there, and then I was reminded of ketchup-flavored chips. My God, you savages. No. Probably, I've never had one. Maybe they're delicious. I don't know.
Personally, I'm more of a fan of the all-dressed chips, but lately I've found the sour cream and onion extra, where they just flood the flavor all over the chips, and then I learned that I shouldn't be eating chips.
What? I like ketchup chips. Your milk comes in bags.
Milk bags. Another thing. Your milk is in bags.
Like, is this the best joke that they come up with? Is it, we have bagged milk? Like, you have boxed milk. That's crazy.
Crazy. Irredeemable. I can never. No. I'm sure I could get used to it, I guess.
Bags. We use kilometers. We use liters. We use grams.
Okay, the metric system is just straight up better. I'm totally on board for using the metric system. I think it's better than the imperial system of measurements in every way. You got me.
We use both. There's some people who only deal with miles and Fahrenheit, and then there's other people who only deal with Celsius and kilometers. We measure our height in feet, we measure our weight in pounds, but we also measure it in centimeters and kilograms. It's ridiculous.
But the height thing never made the transition to the metric system from the old, whatever it's called, system.
Number 1, free healthcare.
Free healthcare, of course, and it deserves to be up here, number 1.
Okay, so I got 1 out of 5.
Yet another major point of contention and disagreement in America. I don't know why. I did a whole video reacting to the Canadian healthcare system. It's incredible. It's wonderful. It's paradise.
Comparatively.
America.
Yeah, there we go.
Americans sadly suffer a lot financially and in other ways because of our system of health insurance and whatnot. And Canadians are much better covered. And yeah, this one stems deep. Certainly
stems
a truly
deep.
legitimate reason to move to Canada.
Deep-rooted?
They have free healthcare.
Okay, so the term is rather misleading, since healthcare in Canada isn't free per se.
Right. I am aware of this. That's kind of a misnomer.
You gotta pay for parking.
It's not like free.
And this moose receiving a colonoscopy under Canada's fantastic single-payer healthcare system.
What it means is that since Canadians all pitch in towards healthcare through taxes, the cost of healthcare becomes significantly cheaper.
Exactly. What the heck are we paying taxes for? If not for the government to use those taxes for the greater good of the country. And what's one of the best goods for the country is healthcare.
I'd just like to take a moment here to point out Northern Exposure, being in the corner of the screen, takes place in Alaska. Anyway, good old show. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It might take a few episodes, but it's a heartwarming small town story that takes place in the north.
I don't know, man.
Times like this, you gotta be glad to be a Canuck.
The specifics of coverage vary between provinces, but as a rule of thumb, they get free clinics, which, sure, inevitably lead to long wait times. But at least those wait times show that people are taking advantage of the system.
Yeah.
In some other countries, waiting rooms are empty because medical attention is too expensive.
Right.
There's also limited coverage for vision and dental care.
If we give up our dental plan, I'll have to pay for Lisa's braces.
But what it really boils down to is that in Canada, the country's health is in the hands of its citizens.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like in America where you're scared to get an ambulance. You're scared to go to the emergency room. Some people are. A lot of people are in desperate financial situations. You're nervous about going.
You know, I've met people who are afraid of going to the dentist, but that has a lot to do with the cost of dental care, which is not currently covered under the government health plan. There are legislations going through the House right now that are going to change that. Dental protection for low-income families, I believe. We'll see what happens. It goes along with the $10 a day daycare. We'll see what happens.
Because what the hospital bill is going to be, you know, it's just madness.
Who are therefore able to get the care they deserve for next to nothing.
Man, those Canadian doctors bandaged me up, reset my jaw, put my shoulder back in its socket, and they didn't even bill me. Idiots.
Do you agree with our list?
Hey, I don't suppose you'd want to move to Canada.
I do. I do agree.
What's your favorite thing about Canada? For more informative top 10s.
Oh, all of it. All of it is my favorite. Oh, man.
Okay.
So this was by Watch Mojo. Yeah.
Who do top 10 lists. That's their thing. Okay, as far as top 10 lists about Canada go, that one's not bad. They just didn't quite hit on what I say are some of the top 5. They hit on one of them.
I like them. I liked this video. Wow.
I kind of did.
Not surprisingly.
Mostly like him. What can I say?
This video only reaffirmed what I already believed about Canada. And it's a pretty fantastic place to live.
Me learn about Tyler.
That's what I was saying. It's not a troll. I think a lot of Americans
legit. It's a good place.
Are somewhat serious when they're like, screw this, I'm moving to Canada.
It is a troll. Y'all don't mean it. It's not happening. We looked at the numbers. It doesn't happen.
And they haven't even seen half of what I've seen about Canada.
Probably.
The more you look into it from an American's point of view, it's just like better. It affirms everything that we kind of know about Canada.
Yeah.
And then it's just like so much more, so much better. Like all the beauty and natural resources, that's just like something a lot of Americans aren't aware of, but it's just like, oh, even better.
Something a lot of Americans live in is the beauty and nature, because North America is filled with forests and plains. It's a wide open space, and we've focused most people on the coasts. And in between, it's just fantastic, beautiful, open space, and I want to go back to Arizona.
The population, the hockey, the politics that are much more civil. Oh my goodness. Education's great. Peaceful, man.
Yeah.
It just sounds great, man. Is it too good to be true? Does this place even exist, Canada?
It's real. Unlike Australia and Greenland.
I enjoyed that a lot. And if you enjoyed this video,
or this one,
feel free to give it a like or leave
that.
a comment.
Type some things.
If you're interested in more videos like this,
like
me
his,
reacting to
like
Canada,
mine, me
Canadian
reacting to him, learning
places,
stuff.
Things I've never
Sometimes
seen,
there's a cat.
Feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this even a little bit as much as I have. And please, if you have enjoyed it, give it that like. Maybe share it with 2 friends. And if they share it with 2 friends and they share it with 2 friends, I might make 2 new friends. Well, that's it for me for now. Thank you very much for sticking around with me. I hope you all have a great one. Just keep being awesome. Bye. Science. Spirit. Life. Nerd Pumpkin.